All too often over the past decade plus in the entertainment industry, it seems like we see these massive corporations go back to an IP or a franchise or a character that has a hardcore dedicated fan base that people absolutely love and adore and decide to destroy it in an effort to promote their own garbage. And time again, we see that become a massive failure, sometimes losing hundreds of millions of dollars for said company. And there might not be a better example of that than Lord of the Rings of Power on Amazon Prime. It has been a disaster from beginning to end. The most expensive series in history, and it's really not even close. And it ended up being a catastrophic failure. And of course, season 2, as much as the shill media and so many people tried to promote it, it ended up being a catastrophic ratings failure. Well, now one of the people that had the most to do with Rings of Power being the failure that it is, and in fact was responsible for so many failures over her time at Amazon Prime Video, is now gone from that studio. Jennifer Salke steps down as head of Amazon MGM Studios, segues to producing with First Look Deal. Now, this is kind of a shocking situation. Nobody really saw this coming, and it's like, well, was she fired? It says she steps down. Oh, it's so amicable. Oh, we have no problem. Yeah, she's going to be doing some producing now for us. But when you start reading into things, no, she absolutely was fired by Amazon. Probably for a multitude of reasons, but it's hard to imagine that losing this much money and destroying a franchise like this wasn't a big part of that. In a surprise move, Jennifer Salke, I don't know if it's Sulk or Salke, I've always said Salke, but whatever. Jennifer Salke is stepping down as head of Amazon MGM Studios after 7 years. The news was just shared internally by Prime Video and Amazon MGM Studios head Mike Hopkins in a memo, which you can read below. Salke is segueing to a First Look film and TV producing deal with the studio. This is the line that's interesting. She will not be replaced, with the head of studio role eliminated in a streamlined new structure. We've decided to flatten our leadership structure a bit, Hopkins said, with head of TV Vernon Sanders and head of film, streaming, and theatrical Courtney Valenti now reporting to him. Yeah, so Jennifer Salke was fired, right? That she is gone. She is gone after a multitude of failures, hundreds of millions of dollars lost. And you know what? There's been a couple good things to come out under her tenure. Things like Reacher, things like Terminal List. But those have been few and far between. When you look at things like Rings of Power, which lost untold hundreds of millions of dollars, when you look at things like Citadel, which was a massive failure, lost them hundreds of millions of dollars, Wheel of Time, another DEI-infested fantasy show where they bastardize all of the original lore, massive failure for them. And now she is gone on her ass. And this is somebody who, from the moment she started taking over, was talking about pushing more female empowerment in these shows and even some of these IPs and franchises that they had acquired, just like Rings of Power. This is somebody who, even though they had acquired those rights before Jennifer Salke took the role, she ended up tearing a lot of the stuff up they were planning on doing that maybe would have actually honored Tolkien and his work and Lord of the Rings, and instead decided to go with an empowered Wario Galadriel because that would be great for women to see on screen. We all saw how that worked out, didn't we? This is also someone who admitted to helping censor the audience and censor reviews of people that didn't like Lord of the Rings of Power, in a desperate effort to pretend like it was a massive global phenomenon. That, oh, everybody just loves this, we promise. She admitted to censoring people if it didn't fall in line with their viewpoint. They played victim, they cried racism, they cried sexism, they did everything in the book, and ultimately it didn't matter, it was still a fail. But now we have some things, now that we're about 24 hours removed from this news actually breaking, now people are out there, a lot of people are saying maybe the James Bond situation and how poorly that went. The idea that after 2 years of working with Barbara Broccoli and everybody that controlled the Bond franchise, they couldn't get anything worked out, both sides hated each other, and eventually Jeff Bezos just opened his wallet and paid an extra $1 billion just to be able to do what they wanted with the franchise, that maybe some of that fell on her shoulders? Not so sure. And you know what? That certainly could have played a role. But this is about severe mismanagement for 7 straight years. And all the projects that she had nothing to do with ended up being the ones that were massively successful on this platform. I don't really think that's a surprise. Behind Amazon MGM's Jen Salke ouster and its fallout. And again, over on the Wrap, that's Hollywood Reporter. This is the Wrap. Bond bit her on the ass. Jen Salke exits a changing Amazon Studios that she helped grow. And all this is so ironic because they fired Roy Price, who was at Amazon years ago, right? They fired him because he made a dick joke at a party or something. They claimed sexual harassment, whatever, bullshit kind of thing. But he ends up getting fired because that was that era, the Me Too era. Oh my God, can't make a dick joke at a party. Heaven forbid. So he gets fired. They bring in Jennifer Salke and she fucking demolishes everything that they had planned, right? And she inserts all of the modern identity politics bullshit into a lot of these series, and they end up being massive fucking failures. Who would have thought? And now one of the things I did think was interesting is you have someone who formerly works at Amazon, who formerly worked at Amazon and Fox, a little bit speculating about this report about, oh, it's just Bond. The Bond debacle is the reason that Jen Salke is gone. Very generous to say Bond was the reason. This was the most irresponsible and wasteful run of TV execs in the history of Hollywood. I will never forget how she called the Russo brothers a day before an upfront and made up a show they could announce before she knew what it was. That was Citadel. And that is one of the things that people are listing as one of the major failures in her tenure, and there's no doubt. Look, I actually didn't mind Citadel all that much, but when you pour in $300 million to a streaming project like this, you expect to get results. And obviously, that's not something that happened at all in any way, shape, or form. The big-budgeted Lord of the Rings series became the biggest debut ever on the streamer, but the show proved to have less staying power. Yeah, it lost like 65% of its audience. And the thing cost over $1 billion for just 2 seasons. While Rings of Power was greenlit by Salke's predecessor, and they don't mention, she came in and changed everything they wanted to do. The expensive spy thriller Citadel from the Russo brothers was championed by Salke. Citadel, planned as a flagship series for the streamer, has been a troubled show from the jump when reshoots, 2 competing cuts, and crew defections on the first season added $75 million to the already $160 million budget. The reports are that it got up to near $300 million for Citadel. And so you just have this history of all of this mismanagement. And then the Bond fiasco, 100% you can kind of throw that on top. But at the end of the day, I believe Rings of Power's failure will be Jen Salke's lasting legacy when it comes to how people view her at Amazon. This was her. She was always in front. She was always out there talking about this. She was one of the people in the room that made sure that we got all of this fucking modernization in Tolkien's world, because she's all about diverse voices and representation, just like she said back when she got the job. It's an abomination that she was allowed to do that to a franchise, but now she's gone. They're saying she's stepping down. They're not even fucking replacing her in any way. Your job's just so important and we appreciate everything you've done. Everything's fine. We're not even going to fill that role. Not needed, not required. That's how fucking useless they felt that you were. Jen Salke is gone at Amazon. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.